Welcome back. All right, so as I continue my look at teams during this offseason, we're now going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs are in an interesting position. They're a team that has lost Mitch Marner, and I've seen a lot of fans saying they're not going to miss Marner. Crazy. 102 points, 75 of those are assists. They're going to miss that. There is not a playmaker in this lineup who is going to be able to do what Marner did, so they're going to have to change their game. I've seen the suggestion as well that, Easton Cowan can jump in and do that. Cowan, by all projections, likely not going to be a huge point producer at the National Hockey League level, and definitely not in that Mitch Marner sort of spot there. But looking at this team, they're still going to be a good team. They've still got good depth down the middle. In fact, picking up Nick Roy from Vegas may end up being a pretty good boost for them. Definitely not as much of a return as they would have got if they traded Marner during the season. But if they traded Marner during the season and then lost in the first round, we'd be having a whole different conversation, wouldn't we? So, looking at this team and keeping in mind that the cap space is still there and this team could very well change between now and opening night, Matthew Knies on that first line, $7.75 million cap hit until 2031. And it does feel like he's ready to break through and hit that next level. This past season, 78 games, 29 goals, 29 assists, 58 points. Very good season for Knies. And is he capable of more? Probably, yeah. And then you got Max Domi, $3.75 million cap hit till 2028. You never get the points out of Domi you think you should. 74 games, just the 8 goals to go with 25 assists for 33 points. And so Domi, I think they'll want 40-plus points out of him. We'll see if they get there or if he gets there, but I think that's what they'd like. And if his offense drops off, you do have Bobby McMahon there. 74 games, 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points. These lines I took from Puckpedia. And Dakota Joshua picked up from Vancouver. If you want to pick somebody who's a good bounce-back candidate on this team, Joshua, you could pick worse. $3.25 million cap hit till 2028. And I think Joshua is going to be a popular Toronto Maple Leaf. I do. I understand he didn't have a great year in Vancouver, but he was coming off cancer treatment. So I do find that conversation odd that people are, he wasn't very good. He's coming off cancer treatment. He missed training camp in the start of the season. By the time he started looking like Dakota Joshua again, the season was almost over. So hopefully he does well in Toronto. Now, Austin Matthews, $13.25 million cap hit till 2028. So he's got 3 years left in this contract. Does he stay in Toronto past those 3 years? Could be a valid question to ask. 67 games played this past season, 33 goals, 45 assists, 78 points. He scores goals at a very good clip, but he gets hurt regularly. So they need Matthews to stay healthy. I think especially with the loss of Marner, you can't afford to lose Matthews. Although during games Matthews missed, Tavares was pretty good this past season. He's got a $4.39 million cap hit till 2029. That's a fantastic team-friendly contract. 75 games for Tavares, 38 goals, 36 assists for 74 points this past season. And Nicholas Roy, playing with Vegas this past season, 71 games, 15 goals, 16 assists, 31 points. But Roy's very good defensively, and he should help on the penalty kill. He should really help the Toronto Maple Leafs altogether. I think it's a solid pickup by Toronto. And while I don't think that Vegas is going to regret bringing in Marner and losing Roy, it's going to change their forward group a little bit, as now Toronto's forward group's been changed. Scott Laughton, if he's on that fourth line, Laughton, we'll see if there's offense there. But I will say this, there's the potential for a good fourth line with Toronto. There's a potential this team could roll 4 pretty good lines. On the right side, you got Nylander, $11.5 million cap hit till 2032. 82 games this past season, 45 goals, 39 assists, 84 points. Now, one player that Toronto's clearly banking on to have a bounce-back season is Matias Maccelli. I've been a fan of his for a while and really hoping he does have a bounce-back season. So Maccelli and Joshua are 2 forwards that if they both get back to playing the way that we know they can, this could be a really good forward group for Toronto. Maccelli this past season, 55 games, 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points. My only complaints with Maccelli have basically been along the lines of he needs to shoot more, and he does miss games, like this past season. Then you got Yarncroke, you've got Lorentz for that depth on the wing. I really like this forward group a lot. And then you get into the depth side of things, and things get even more interesting. David Kampf can play fourth line, we know that. Nick Robertson, So with the lineup they've put together, Robertson's still RFA at this point, right? Maybe this is the year we see Robertson get traded. As much as people may scoff at the idea, hey, John Gibson finally got traded, so it's possible. It is possible that we see Robertson on his way somewhere else. Cowan could fight his way onto this lineup as well. Cowan, again, considered to be a pretty good prospect, and we'll see if he ends up being a regular on this roster and what that might do. So if he ends up getting a spot on the wing, who does he force out? What kind of moves then would Toronto need to make? You've got Pizzetta, who was added from Montreal. Lettieri, a good veteran who can play fourth-line minutes. Boyd can as well, and Grew. So some good depth there up front for Toronto, but I do think they're going to miss Marner. I don't think they're going to be able to score as many goals this season, so it's going to be more about a team style, rolling four lines, and the blue line. Now, one thing the blue line didn't have a lot of this past season was offense. In fact, Morgan Rielly, kind of the offense from the blue line. This is why when people have talked about trading Morgan Rielly, my answer to that has been, I don't think Toronto necessarily can. They'd have to get an offensive defenseman back. I think this is part of the reason why Erik Karlsson's name to Toronto gets brought up here and there. They don't have the cap space for Karlsson. The other issue with that is that Toronto's name gets mentioned with a lot of players in the offseason, and I always kind of just shrug it off because I know that at times it might be valid, and I know that at times people are just looking for traffic. And you mentioned Leafs and a big name, and you're going to get traffic. Personally, I don't do a ton of Toronto videos, but when I do, there's always that. I was doing this for clicks. Even though I do 32 team videos, when I do a video and I get to Toronto, that's definitely going to be in the comments. Jake McCabe played 66 games this past season, had 2 goals, 21 assists, 23 points. He's got a $4.51 million cap hit till 2030. Higher cap hit than Chris Tanev. It was a $4.5 million cap hit until 2030. So 4.51 versus 4.5. I like that. Tanev, 75 games, 3 goals, 15 assists, 18 points for Tanev. You're never going to get a ton of offense from Tanev. That's not his game. But block shots, playing through injury, that's Tanev's game. And then you got Morgan Rielly, $7.5 million cap hit till 2030. If you look at the contracts that have been signed this summer, I think Rielly's contract's fine. 82 games, 7 goals, 34 assists, 41 points. The one thing I will agree on with a lot of people that, don't like how Rielly's been used is, I don't think he's a true number one defenseman. I think he's a good number two defenseman. I don't think Toronto has a true number one defenseman. Well, they have a good defense core. Brandon Carlo, 20 games played with Toronto after the trade, had 3 assists. He's a defensive-minded defenseman. Benoit, a crowd favorite, 78 games, 1 goal, 9 assists, 10 points. Not offensively minded, of course. Ekman Larsson, 77 games, 4 goals, 25 assists, 29 points. The second most dangerous offensive defenseman, being Ekman Larsson, does say something about the offense from the blue line for Toronto. Now, they picked up Henry Thrun, who's a good defenseman, depth defenseman, but not an offensively minded defenseman. Myers, Mermis, Benning, Rafai, none of these are like big offensively minded defensemen. So that is something that Toronto will likely still be looking at. I'm not sure that it's going to be that easy for them to fix it. Unless they're willing to pick up somebody who would be like what the Islanders have with D'Angelo, where it's all offense. There's not necessarily great defense. Unless Toronto finds a defenseman of that ilk, I think scoring from the blue line is still going to be an issue for Toronto this year. Then you get to the goaltending, which has been pretty darn good, right? Stolarz was 21-8-3 this past season with a .928 save percentage. So I would say that $2.5 million cap hit, that's a bargain. He's got 1 more year left. He's an unrestricted free agent next summer. They need to get that done. And then you got Woll, who has a $3.67 million cap hit until 2028. He went 27-14-1 this past season with a .909 save percentage. Hildeby is the number 3, by my accounting anyways, in their organization. I liked Hildeby before he was drafted. He was an overager, so he went a little later in the draft than I think he would have if he was in his first year of eligibility. And I think it'll be interesting to see if he does get into some games for Toronto this year, how he does. So, looking over the last 4 years, this team's been good. 115 points in 2022, 111 points in 2023, 102 points in 2024, and the season that finished in April, 108 points. And they won the division for the first time in a while. So, Toronto could very well still be in the mix for the division. They should be a top 3 team in the Atlantic, but the Atlantic's tightening up a lot. So it will be interesting to see how much they miss that offense from Marner and how much the top players in Toronto miss having Marner passing them the puck, because there isn't anybody in this lineup that can do what he did. And so the game for Toronto is going to change this season. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.